I offer to you that before engaging in a meditation where we absolutely sit with the guidance of my voice, that we begin by listening to a beautiful song sung by Billy Porter and India Ari. The song is called Carefully Taught, and it's about 4.5 minutes. So if you choose, I invite you to play that song and then to engage in this meditation. So we want to allow ourselves to sit comfortably, being reverently alert and closing our eyes or gazing down, and then taking 3 deep breaths at a pace that feels good for you. And after those deep breaths, allowing your breath to settle at a rhythm that feels restorative and relaxing. Generally, this means we may slow our breathing down and bring our breathing more fully down into our stomach area. Let's try that together for a few moments. And as we start to explore our own bias and to support our healing from our bias, I invite you to think about your own childhood and how you may have been carefully taught. What bias were you taught as a child? I remember being a 3rd grader, playing on the playground, and I was really athletic. And because of my athleticism, I was able to play with the 5th graders. And I remember playing with this one particular white 5th grade girl. And I don't remember what brought on the fullness of the conversation, but she said to me while we were playing, "Tovi, I don't like Black people, but I like you." She was in 5th grade. "Tovi, I don't like Black people, but I like you." And me being in 3rd grade and wanting to be liked and enjoying that I could play with the older kids, I took that as a compliment. And that day, later, my mother would pick me up from school, and I excitedly told her the story of playing with the 5th grader and what she had told me. Mommy, she really liked me, and she said she didn't like Black people, but she liked me." And my mother looked at me and got very serious. And she said, Mija, that's not a compliment. And my smile went away. And in my confusion, I said, why, Mama? Why not? And she went on to explain to me why it was not a compliment. How does a fifth grader know to say that? And I would sit with this wondering. And there I was in third grade, and my conversations about a divisive world, race, and bias had already begun. I too was being carefully taught. There we were, maybe at 6, 7, or 8, to hate all the people our relatives hate. And so again, I ask, how were you carefully taught? And let us just sit and be with what arises. And as we think about our own conditioning, where we learned some of the bias and practice that arises in us now, generations and decades later, can we trace it back to when the seed was planted so that we can unearth that seed in us? And as we explore our bias with both compassion and self-compassion, I invite in forgiveness. Can we forgive who taught us this bias? Can we forgive who shaped our conditioning? Because more often than not, we love them. And it is okay to love them. They too were carefully taught, and then went on to teach us what they had been taught. So we let them know, I forgive you for misteaching me. They are products of this society just like we are. And that is compassion. There is compassion in our forgiveness. And can we bring ourselves to self-compassion and self-forgiveness for the times that we acted on this bias, for even holding the bias? But now we know better, and we can be better, and we can do better. And when we think about self-compassion, I love to think about what Kristen Neff says, that self-compassion is like talking to ourselves the way we would talk to someone that we love. When you speak to yourself like someone you love about your own bias, what do you say to yourself? Let it be okay to forgive yourself and love yourself in spite of your bias. Let it go. There are no villains. We are all here experiencing our own evolution and healing for the transformation of a better humanity. There are no villains. Let us take a deep breath on that. And as we start to come out of this meditation into our present awareness, let us make a commitment to interrupt our bias. That we acknowledge that knowing it gives us power. The self-awareness of knowing what our bias is an empowering act of courage. And we become even more courageous that when we feel it arising in us, we take that pause and we interrupt it. We don't act on it. The bias in and of itself is not harmful. Acting on it creates the harm. So we interrupt acting on it. And that is our commitment to a better humanity. That is our commitment to our own self-healing and self-transformation for systemic transformation. Breathe that in. Thank you for sitting with me.